On the night of June 17th, 1972, Washington, D.C. was quiet. But inside the Watergate office complex, 5 men moved in the shadows. Gloves, lockpicking tools, recording devices hidden in their bags. It seemed like just another burglary, but this was the night that would open the door to the most dangerous political scandal in American history. Within hours, the men were caught. What looked like a small crime would soon lead directly to the Oval Office. Among the 5 was James McCord, a former CIA officer and head of security for President Richard Nixon's re-election campaign. The Committee to Re-elect the President, CRP. With him were 4 Cuban operatives connected to past covert missions. In their possession, sophisticated cameras, wiretapping devices, and an address book that pointed straight to Howard Hunt, an advisor inside the White House. The evidence was undeniable. The burglars weren't just thieves, they were connected to power. In the days that followed, questions multiplied. Who had sent them? And more importantly, who had paid them? Investigators at the Department of Justice, the FBI, and soon, the press discovered that money from Nixon's re-election committee had been funneled to the burglars. The phrase that defined the scandal was born: follow the money. At the Washington Post, 2 young reporters refused to let the story die. Bob Woodard and Carl Bernstein, with the help of a mysterious source, later revealed to be FBI Associate Director Mark Felt, codenamed Deep Throat. The 2 journalists uncovered a campaign of political espionage, found by illegal contributions, and directed by White House officials. Their reports pulled the threads together. This was no accident. It was a plan. But in November 1972, Richard Nixon won re-election in one of the largest landslides in American history. 49 states, 61% of the popular vote. To the public, the break-in seemed minor compared to the war in Vietnam. But behind closed doors, a storm was gathering. In January 1973, the trial of the 7 burglars began under Judge John Sirica. 4 pleaded guilty, 2 were convicted. But then James McCord wrote a letter to the judge. He claimed there had been pressure on the defendants to remain silent, that perjury had been committed, and that high officials were involved. That letter cracked the cover-up wide open. The scandal was no longer a petty burglary. It was a conspiracy. By February 1973, the U.S. Senate created a special committee to investigate, the Ervin Committee, led by Senator Sam Ervin of North Carolina. For the first time in American history, the hearings were broadcast live on national television. Night after night, Americans sat in their living rooms watching the drama unfold. More than 85% of households saw at least part of the proceedings. It was no longer whispers in Washington. It was national spectacle. At the same time, Attorney General Elliot Richardson appointed Archibald Cox as special prosecutor. His mission? To investigate Watergate. Independently of the White House, Cox soon made a discovery that shocked the nation. Richard Nixon had installed a secret voice-activated taping system inside the Oval Office and other rooms. Thousands of hours of conversations had been recorded without anyone's knowledge. These tapes could prove everything. When investigators demanded the tapes, the White House resisted. Nixon claimed executive privilege, saying he had the right to withhold them. But then came another revelation. One recording from June 20th, 1972. Just days after the break-in, contained an 18.5-minute gap. The audio was erased, replaced by a strange buzzing sound. What was said in those missing minutes? Who erased them? And why? No one could prove it, but for the public the gap was enough to spark suspicion. To understand Watergate, we must go back even further. In 1971, the Pentagon Papers were leaked to the press, exposing government secrets about the Vietnam War. Nixon furious created a covert unit inside the White House called the Plumbers. Their mission? To stop leaks, no matter the cost. Among the members, G. Gordon Liddy and E. Howard Hunt, the same men who would later mastermind the Watergate burglary. The lines between national security, political survival, and criminal activity blurred. And from those blurred lines came Watergate. 5 men caught in the night. A roll of tape on a door latch. A burglary that should have been forgotten, but behind it a machine of money, secrecy, and power. The break-in at the Democratic headquarters was not the end of the story. It was only the beginning. The door had been opened, and it would never be closed again.